Yes, welcome back to another week of GarageBand goodness here on GarageBand Weekly, our weekly live show about all things GarageBand. Who am I? I'm Pete. I'm Pete Johns. This is Studio Live today, and my goal here is to help you create, record, and release your best music. And GarageBand is one of the easiest and most accessible platforms to do that, because if you've got a Mac, if you've got an iPhone, if you've got an iPad, you've got GarageBand, and you've got it for free. And free is the theme of today's show, because we've got a bunch of free plugins that I'm going to be talking about, including a new one that has been released recently. My rant of the week is going to be all about loops. And is it cheating to use loops? And we're going to talk about audio crashes in GarageBand, how to avoid them, and how to reduce the frustration of your apps and tracks crashing. All right, let's jump in with some news and notes to get us started with. If you're watching here live and you've got a question, by the way, throw a question and your question down in the chat. We will have a chat to the folks who are here live a little later in the show. Jumping into the news and notes, there hasn't been a whole lot of news. It's funny, before we start the show each week, there's usually someone that asks, when is GarageBand going to be updated? And we haven't really seen much of an update from GarageBand from either the Mac version or the iOS version for some time. And the speculation there is that GarageBand's not high in Apple's priority right now. They are still releasing new packs for it. They are still releasing bug fixes. They did update it for iOS 13. So we are still hopeful that there will be some significant changes across both platforms coming up. It's usually around any sort of Mac announcement times. So there's not a whole lot going on in that space at the moment. Keep your ear to the ground and keep watching weekly GarageBand Weekly here, because as soon as there is something, I will be here to let you know. A couple of gear-related things this week, because especially for my friends over in the US, hello to my friends in the US, but also in other places, there's been a shortage, not really a shortage as such, but the Apple Lightning to USB 3 adapter, yes, I couldn't go 2 minutes without mentioning it, had been sold out on Amazon in the US for about 2 months. So since before Thanksgiving, basically, before Black Friday, right through to like Christmas time, they had been sold out and you couldn't get them anywhere. So the good news is that they are now back in stock. Yes, they are $39 US. They're back in stock on Amazon. And if you're looking for any gear for the home studio, you can head over to studiolivetoday.com/gear and you can check out all of my gear recommendations over there. But yeah, if you're using GarageBand on your iPhone or iPad, a genuine Apple Lightning to USB adapter is almost an essential piece of kit, especially if you're connecting anything via USB. You'll definitely need that particular device. I'm looking down in my drawer because, yeah, I meant to get out my next prop for the next bit of news here. And again, because it's been a slow news week, I've got another bit of gear-related news, and that is I get asked a lot from people that are just starting out. They've got an iPhone or they've got an iPad, and they say, hey, Pete, I've got like literally no money, or I've got like $30 or $50. What is the best way to get into recording? And my answer inevitably is this. This is the Tascam IXZ or IXZ. It is a battery-powered audio interface. It uses an analog 3.5mm jack like that. So it's an analog device. You can plug it in to your iPhone or iPad if you don't have your iPhone if you don't have a 3.5mm jack with the Lightning to 3.5mm adapter. So that turns it into a universal plug for anything. But the beautiful part about this is it's got a microphone in, it's got a guitar input, it's got phantom power, and it's got headphone out for monitoring, and it's got input that you can just adjust on there. So, and it's about $35. So once again, yes, sounds like an infomercial today, don't I? Head over to studiolivetoday.com/gear and you can check out this one. And now it's not digital, so it's not going to give you the sort of quality you'll get from the other interfaces I recommend. So if you really want to have that quality sound, again, if you head to that the link right there, you can check out things like the Steinberg range of USB audio interfaces, and of course there are the iRig audio interfaces. You can see one just there, the iRig Pro IO. You can see the Steinberg UR12 that I've got boxed up there, which I'm about to sell. Ooh, anyone want my Steinberg UR12? I'll give you a good price. Yeah, so you can head over there to check out all of the different options that you have for audio interfaces. Excuse me. Getting all choked up talking about cool gear. But of course, it is not all about the gear. A lot of it is about what you do with the gear. And I've always said, I say on pretty much every video I talk about gear, do not let what you have or what you don't have get in the way of your creating it. Especially if you have an iPhone, iPad, or Mac and you have GarageBand, you can be creating straight away. And one of the ways that you can be creating straight away, segue, is using loops. And there's been some discussions. There's been two separate threads that I've read on two separate forums during the week about loops. And the questions, they come in occasionally, and they're usually something like this. Is it cheating to use loops? And the broader question is it cheating to use any sort of preset samples, any sort of autoplay functions, any sort of thing that you are not creating everything yourself? Now, my opinion on this, I would love your opinion. So if you're here live on the chat, let me know your opinion in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, drop a comment if you're watching this back and let me know what you think. Do you use loops, and do you think using loops is considered cheating? My take on this is, especially when you're starting out, loops are a fantastic way to get your head around creating. I've got two kids, and they're ages 8 and 10, and they create with GarageBand, but they are just at the start of their musical journey. So they don't necessarily know how to play a G chord or a G7 chord or anything on the keyboard. But what they can do is that they can throw a loop on there. And what they can do is use the chords function in GarageBand to actually hit that and it'll play a chord. And what they can do is use autoplay to play back the chords. I'm then teaching them to go in and start editing that. So chopping up samples, changing the key of samples, going in and editing those auto plays to change some of the notes. And what that's doing is it's helping them learn about how these things are constructed. So instead of them having to just work it out themselves, like I did back when I was in my early recording days and early composition days, they're seeing how things come together and they're working backwards. Now, that's not for everyone, but I think that is a great way to learn. The second point I have is, what about using them? What about if you are more experienced? Should you be using loops? I just released a song called Imagination that has about 3 or 4 default GarageBand loops in there. You probably wouldn't listen to that song and go, hey, that's a loop-based song, because I added in some of my own instruments. I've got my vocals in there. I've got a bass line in there that I actually played in. So it's not just loops. And that's probably my point here, is that when you are getting to the point, if the only thing that I'd suggest, or the only sort of point on the side of loops cheating that I would be, is try to add your own flavor. If you just put in, and if you just go into GarageBand and you go bonk, 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 you just get 4 tracks of loops and go, look, I'm a beat maker. Yeah, maybe I could say probably need to do a little bit of something else. So tweak some settings, add some cool funky EQ and effects and plugins, change up the key, make it different, make it your own it, make it original. But the actual inherent question of should you use loops, can you use loops? I think you absolutely should. I think loops are cool. I think loops are good. And if anyone wants to use my song as a loop in one of their songs, as long as I haven't released it using Content ID and it's going to get claimed. But again, if you did, and as long as you made it your own, it would never get claimed. And I'd never even probably know. So there you go. That is my 2 cents on loops, and that is my rant of the week. As I say every week, I need little stings, little musical stings, but I'm always so busy doing a different video every day that I never quite get around to it. Alrighty, one more topic here, and then we'll jump in and chat to the folks who are kind enough to be here live and see if we've got any questions, any comments, or anything else. Let's go with our tip of the week. Now, if you're using GarageBand, now this is particular for the iPad and the iPhone, but I'm sure there are similar things on the Mac. I just don't use GarageBand Mac very much. But you may find that sometimes you get this problem where you do something, usually it's adding a plugin, and you put that plugin on and then the audio just mutes it out. You might get a little pop or a click and then the audio mutes out. And you can't get your audio back until you like close out of GarageBand and open up again. Or sometimes you can just remove the plugin you've just added and then go to the start of the track and hit play. I had my friend Steve had this problem yesterday. I had the same problem with a plugin. I've had someone, Jane, one of the viewers on Studio Live today, reach out and ask about the Fuzz Plus plugin, and the same thing was happening to her. What this is generally is that GarageBand or Apple on the iPad and iPhone have a fail-safe where if you do something that makes the volume so loud that it's going to basically hurt you or the hardware, it will turn off the volume. It will mute everything. So anytime you're finding that your volume is going to 0 and no matter what you're doing, you're hitting play, there's no playback on any of your tracks, it's probably because that fail-safe has kicked in. Now, the way to avoid this is to turn it down. So when you're adding a new plugin, and I say this on most of my plugin videos, but I do forget it from time to time. If you're adding a new audio unit plugin or you're adding anything, always start with the volume low or even zero. So if you're adding a plugin, so say you're adding Fuzz Plus or you're adding the Rough Rider 3 or you're adding some sort of plugin to your GarageBand track, start with the mix knob or the wet knob all the way to zero. Put the plugin on, dial it up little bit by bit. The problem is most plugins come in as a default at 100%. And that's the problem. If you've already layered up some compressors and some other plugins, you've got your volume peaking right up close to 0 dB, and then you throw something like that on there, it's going to make it too loud. And GarageBand is going to go, nope, I'm protecting your ears and your iPad. You don't want to buy a new iPad. I'm just going to mute the volume. So if you're having that problem, that's what you need to do. Turn it down. If you can't play it back at all, what you need to do, I know it's frustrating, go in, remove all the third-party plugins, and then add them back in one by one. Eventually, you'll find out which one on which track is causing the issue, and then you can try and tweak it to get it right. Or in the case of Steve, I was talking to you yesterday, I said he was using Stark, which is a great plugin by Clevgrand, on his track, and it seems to be causing issues. So I said, maybe just try the Crunk V2, the new free guitar amp plugin, and see if that sounds cool on your tracks as well, and go from there. So hopefully that helps you out. The tip of the week is avoiding audio overload and those crashes. Just turn it down, start with your plugins low, dial them up, and you'll get a lot more success with your third-party plugins. Let's jump over to the folks that are here live and say g'day. Let's continue. Alex Backer says re-loops. I rarely use loop as is. I load it into the sampler and play around with the loop. Yeah, it is totally the case. You do, and that's, again, just make it your own. Totally just make it your own, and that would be good. There's some chat here about the I talked about the genuine Apple Lightning to USB 3 adapter, and folks are chatting about whether you can use the cheaper ones. Yeah, again, I know I rant a lot about this and why you use this one. If you buy a cheaper one and it works, then that is totally cool. The problem is, though, that they don't have the chip in there, which means that if Apple decide to update their iOS, it won't be supported anymore. So if you buy this one, kind of guaranteed to work for life, in my view anyway. Clearly Epic, loops are an extension of your songwriting, not your songwriting. Not cheating unless it's exclusively loops. Yeah, 100%. And synth arps are kind of a loop and cheat. Yeah, exactly. If using arpeggios, an arpeggiator, the comment's covering me up, I'm hiding behind the comment, then yeah, it's the same sort of thing. Like they're preset loops using MIDI loops, as in MIDI samples, bringing those in, putting those on your virtual instruments, same sort of deal as well. Johan Olivier says, I don't think it's cheating, it's a matter of accuracy. Eliminating errors will take time to correct later. I think it's helpful and convenient. Yep, I love it. Leo says, I love loops and I use them when I can't find the right sound. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, very cool. Imagine 6 says, the one loop I really enjoy is the rattle snare topper, and it's pretty good. Yeah, some of those, I must admit, I use some of those toppers and just some of those random little bits just to add some percussion, some interesting percussion, even to like a rock track. Just put a little hi-hat topper on there in the chorus. It can just give it a little bit of edge. So yeah, play around with it. We've got Metallion 58. I consider loops as tools, just like virtual instruments, and any tools are good to bring the music from your head to the real world. Love it. I could have just read that and I didn't have to do my whole rant. But what would be the fun of that? Medallion also says, so that's what happened to my Fuzz 3 track. Yeah, Fuzz Plus 3 is probably the biggest culprit, because it is, by its very nature, overdriving and distorting your tone. So start with it at 0, dial it up gently. It is a very aggressive plugin, and yeah, you need to be very careful. And Benedict Stewart says, loops. I use loops in my songwriting and use them a lot. They are tools which help me create. So thank you. And if you do have the opposite opinion, don't get me wrong. I love hearing everyone's feedback, and I love hearing an argument on either side. And if you do genuinely think that folks shouldn't be using loops under any circumstances, then by all means, let us know and drop a comment down below. We welcome all comments, and I won't necessarily agree with you, but yeah, I love that people have different thoughts, and the conversation is good to have anyway. Even if everyone's on the same side, it's good to at least think about that and learn from it and analyze it. And maybe a few of you have got some ideas and said, oh yeah, I do use loops, and maybe I could tweak them more. Maybe I can cut them up and chop them up and make them my own. That is all cool. Let us move on to the plugin of the week. Now, I have I have lifted this one directly from my buddy Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide, and this is a very cool plugin called Tape Cassette. Now, I've been using the DAW cassette, DAW cassette from Clevgrand. It's a very cool plugin. There's also, DAW LP. And what these are, and it's so funny, every time I talk about these, a lot of folks, especially those my age and older, we look back and we go, how many years, folks, did we spend trying to remove the wow and flutter from our recordings because we had to use tape? Or how many times did we try to digitize our record collection and remove that scratchy vinyl sound? And now every producer wants to just put that sound back into their songs. It's kind of ludicrous, but it's kind of cool. And because it's kind of cool, if you do want, especially because lo-fi music and sort of retro sounds are so popular at the moment, the Tape Cassette, I couldn't remember the name of it, the Tape Cassette is a very cool plugin from, I don't actually know the developer. See, I haven't done my homework very well here, but what I will do is down in the description, there will be a link to the video that Patrick did over on the GarageBand Guide. I haven't even reviewed this one yet. That's how much I trust Patrick. I haven't even reviewed this one. I downloaded it this morning. I will do a review and work on it during the week. But for now, please do go over to the GarageBand Guide. And if you're not aware of the GarageBand Guide, you're probably not going to watch this show. You probably already know Patrick and the GarageBand Guide, but head on over there and check out that new plugin. I'll also put a link to where you can download it, but do go and watch Patrick's demo. And he's doing a bit of a series of a plugin of the week at the moment over on the GarageBand Guide, which is very cool. And you should definitely be watching that and keeping up with it. We're getting through it today. I'm normally dawdling my way through. I think I've had my coffee and I got up a bit earlier today, so I'm a little bit more efficient than I usually am. So we'll check in with the folks, see if we have anything. Imagine 6 says yes, Tape Cassette is good. Excellent. We've got another vote for Tape Cassette. Back on the loops topic, Derek Smith, right? I need to start using loops. Yeah, it is good. And I know the sort of music you produce, Derek, more acoustic music, more real instrument music. I think I was the same. Before I started using loops more, I thought, well, my music can't possibly use any loops. My music can't possibly. I've started using especially percussion loops. Like it's a shortcut, yeah, but grabbing a percussion loop and throwing that on a track is a really cool way to just spice it up a little bit. And it doesn't have to be right up there up front. But yeah, there's a heap of ways to use loops, not just in it doesn't have to be electronic music, drum and bass, dubstep, heavy sort of music. It can be pretty much anything. Alex Backus, one of Rihanna's hits is based on a GarageBand loop. Yeah, so there's been a lot of this. Steve Lacey, who's an iPhone creator who's used GarageBand and uses his iPhone to create songs. A lot of pop songs in the past have used GarageBand loops. There's probably some that don't even tell you that they're not proud of it because it's not cool. Wouldn't be cool to say use GarageBand. It's like when people, it's not cool apparently to shop at Kmart and Target and be proud of that and shop at thrift stores. But see, I love that. If I buy a t-shirt for $3, I'll be like, look at my $3 t-shirt. I got it from Kmart. Isn't it awesome? Whereas, yeah, I know a lot of people would be like, oh no, I can't admit that I'd buy anything. I know that's not you folks. Alrighty, RC Mod Squad. RC radio control cars. Remote. Oh, very cool. I had a jet hopper back in the 80s. Everything old is new again. Speaking of old is new again. Yeah, retro. Johan says, yeah, it's nostalgic and makes it cool from us older folk. Yeah, and that makes it cool. Yeah, exactly. It is. It's very, very nostalgic. I've got an interesting one here from Jade. I just bought an actual cassette to PC tape converter this week. Can't wait to retrieve old demos and stuff from 30 years ago across 300 tapes, going old school indeed. Yeah, I have some tapes. I don't know that it'd be worth my while getting anything off them, and they're all 4-track tapes too. So I have a problem that I can't actually use those tapes because they're 4-track tapes. Actually, I could. What I'd have to do is, because their 4-track just has 2 tracks on each side and it plays it simultaneously. So I'd have to painstakingly record the stereo track off one side, flip it over, record the whole stereo track off the other side, and then align the song start and finish in like GarageBand. That could be a fun project. Hands up who would like to see that. In fact, I wonder if my USB tape recorder is class compliant. I've just had a pretty fun idea. I should get my GarageBand on here. I should get my USB tape converter. I should get one of my old 4-track tapes. That would be a super fun experiment, would be trying to get an old song from a 4-track onto GarageBand. That would be the old world meeting the new world in a big bad way. I think I'm going to do it. And now it's recorded here. So now my idea, everyone comment down below, say, yes, Pete, I would totally watch the out of you trying to get a 4-track recording of your band from the 90s onto your iPhone 10 using GarageBand. I think that would be super duper fun. Righty, we're nearly at the end here. I've got one more thing, and that is my resource of the week. And this one's a bit special because I've created something that I've been asked for several weeks. A lot of folks have been doing all these free plugin reviews from the Nembrini plugins. And the question I get asked almost every time is, Pete, where is your page that is a complete page of all of the free plugins for iOS that I can just go and download? So, here it is. Here is my free page. And yes, it was literally created this morning at 5 a.m. my time. So it is not anything pretty yet. It will be pretty. I will pretty it up. And what I'll do is eventually I'll have the name of the plugin there, what it does, a link to where you can download it, and then a link to my review so that you can actually check out what it does and then download it. And then everything will be good to go. But if you do want to check this out, there will be a link down below. But if you want to go there right now, as soon as this show finishes, as soon as you've left a comment and hit the like button, yeah, right. You can go to studiolivetoday.com/freeau. And that's an easy one-stop shop for all of these free AUV3 plugins. Refresh rate's not going too well there at the moment. Yeah, so there they all are. And that is all of the ones that I use, all of the ones that I've recommended. You got all the Nembrini stuff that I've been reviewing in the last week. LRC5 is at the top there because it's basically a must download. If you don't have LRC5 EQ and you're on GarageBand iOS, you definitely should. All the Nembrini stuff, the Rough Rider 3, phase delay array, all the neon silicon stuff there as well, stereo lag time, delay modulator. Now, Fuzz Plus, I've said no longer available. It doesn't seem to be on the App Store. So after I've just said, hey, it's got all of these issues when you try and use it, I don't know that it's even actually there anymore. So yeah, maybe go and check that out. I've got a few more to add in. It will evolve. It will grow over time. But there's the bookmark to put in is studiolivetoday.com/freeau. And I'll do a video where I sort of officially announce it once it's all tidied up. But there you go. Because you're watching and you're here live, you are the first to know. So that should be a handy resource. And by the way, if you have your own, so if you have other free plugins that I haven't mentioned there, then please email me. I'm at pete@studiolivetoday.com. Super easy, pete@studiolivetoday.com. I don't have a little thing down there for that. Let's create one. This is called doing things on the fly. Let's see if I can spell it correctly. We can do this in real time because of StreamYard. Just email me, pete@studiolivetoday.com. And yeah, I will, if you've got good ideas for free plugins or any other ideas for any other videos that I can do here on the channel, then there is where you can get in touch. You can also go to studiolivetoday.com. You can join the mailing list. You can check out the gear guide. You can look at the free plugin list there. And of course, you can search through 800 or is it 900 now? I think across 900 plus videos all about home, mobile recording, GarageBand, songwriting, releasing your music, a whole bunch of stuff. Thank you for being here again. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did get some value out of this one, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and I will see you next time.